You know, when we think about the huge tech rivalries, Apple versus Samsung, OpenAI versus Google, we usually picture this stuff on the surface, right? Like apps, cool new features, and those big flashy product launches. But what if I told you the battles that really matter, the ones shaping our future, aren't being fought there at all? They're happening in layers, hidden deep, deep beneath the code. So that gets us to the big question, doesn't it? In this incredibly complex, multi-layered fight, who's actually winning? I mean, who has the real, lasting advantage?
And here's the wild part. The answer is kind of hiding in plain sight. It's in places we just don't think to look, like the nitty-gritty economics of silicon chips, the geopolitics of raw materials, and, believe it or not, the surprising power of just being the old guard. All right, so let's start with the most obvious battlefield. This is the one everybody knows, everybody talks about, the war for the cloud.
Right now, Amazon's AWS is the undisputed king of the hill. They command nearly a third of the entire global market. To put that in perspective, that's more than Microsoft, Google, and Alibaba put together. It's a truly staggering lead.
So how on earth did they build this empire? Well, according to Jeff Bezos himself, it wasn't just about having better tech. It was all about speed. They had a 7-year head start. I mean, in the tech world, that's an eternity. It gave them all the time they needed to build out this incredibly rich platform before anyone else had even tied their shoes for the race.
But this is where things get really interesting. We talk about the cloud like it's some magical, invisible thing made of software, but what's actually powering it all? What is this war really being fought with? And that question, that's what takes us a layer deeper.
You see, underneath all that software, there is a much more brutal, much more fundamental battle raging, and it's all about the physical hardware, the actual silicon chips that are the bedrock of modern AI.
So on one side, you've got companies like OpenAI that are basically paying what's called the NVIDIA tax. They're buying these incredibly powerful but insanely expensive GPUs. But then you've got Google. For over a decade, they've been quietly developing their own custom AI chips called TPUs, and this is their secret weapon, total vertical integration.
So get this, an estimated 80% gross margin. That's the premium. That's the tax everyone else is paying to NVIDIA. A graphics card that might cost NVIDIA, say, $5,000 to make, can be sold for over $30,000. It's just wow.
And this right here, this is Google's strategic masterstroke. By making their own chips, they just completely sidestep that tax. This gives them an estimated 4 to 6 times cost efficiency advantage. Basically, every single dollar they spend on AI compute goes way, way further than their competitors. And this hardware advantage isn't just some nerdy technical detail. No, it translates directly into a brutal price war. Just look at this. Google can offer its super powerful Gemini Pro model for a quarter of the price of a similar OpenAI model. This isn't just about being competitive, it's a war of attrition. And it's being fueled by a fundamental economic advantage at the chip level. But believe it or not, the stack goes even deeper. We've gone from the software down to the silicon, but what if the most critical battle of all is for the actual dirt the silicon comes from? What happens when we peel back just one more layer? Okay, let's talk about something called rare earth elements. These are the crucial materials that make the powerful, lightweight magnets in pretty much everything, from your phone to, and this is the big one, electric vehicles. A normal gas-powered car might use about 1/4 kilo of these things, but a high-performance EV, it can need up to 5 kilograms. That's a 20-fold increase. And this is the stark geopolitical reality we're all facing. China doesn't just lead in the rare earth supply chain. It completely and utterly dominates every single stage of it, from digging the ore out of the ground to the incredibly complex refining process to actually making the final magnets. China controls somewhere between 70 and 90% of the entire world's capacity. This kind of insane concentration creates what engineers call a single point of failure. It means the entire global tech and auto industry's shift to a green future hinges on a supply chain that could be shut down by a single political decision in Beijing. It's a massive risk.
And getting out of this dependency? Well, it's a monumental task. This is not something that can be fixed in a quarter or two. To build a fully independent supply chain outside of China, we are talking about over a decade of sustained, massive investment. So we've got these intense battles over software, hardware, and raw materials. But there's one more hidden war going on. And this is the one where the established giants use the power they already have to basically rig the game in their own favor.
I mean, take Microsoft. They were pretty late to the cloud party, but they are catching up fast. So how are they doing it? They're using their legacy empire as a weapon. They bundle their Azure cloud services with software that businesses have to use, like Windows and Office, and then they offer these huge discounts to their locked-in customers. It creates this powerful pull to just stick with them.
And sometimes, this power is used in ways you would just never expect. The CEO of Rivian claims that the biggest obstacle to EV adoption isn't big oil, it's the legacy car companies themselves. He alleges that while they're publicly talking up their new EVs, they're privately lobbying to slow the whole transition down, all to protect their still profitable gas-powered car business. So, when you start putting all of these pieces together, the cloud, the chips, the minerals, the raw market power, what does the real endgame actually start to look like?
It becomes crystal clear that winning in tech today isn't about dominating just one of these layers anymore. No. True, lasting power in the 21st century comes from controlling the entire stack. From the apps you see on your screen down to the hidden economics of the hardware, the geopolitical choke points in the supply chain, and the old-fashioned market power to shape the rules of the game.
The race for the future isn't just about writing better code anymore. It's about mastering the entire vertical, from the rare earth mine all the way up to the AI model that's running in the cloud. That is the new formula for power.
And that brings us to our final thought. As these invisible battles over hardware, over supply chains, over political influence, as they become the real front lines of innovation, which companies, and for that matter, which countries, do you think are truly built to win in the long run?